Hey guys, welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. It is Wednesday, July 30th. We've been in a heat wave here in the Ozarks, but in a couple days, the weather's supposed to break and get down into the 80s. That will be nice. Thank you so much for being here. If you like the show, and I think I'm gaining momentum, I really like this format. Be sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends. I really do appreciate it. Oh, and if you want to help financially support the show, if you have a question or a comment you want me to address, there's a couple of ways to do it. YouTube has, I think it's called a super sticker where you can leave a tip. I will see it in the comments and I will address your question in the next show or your comment. Or you can leave a power chat here. You can leave this day or night. I will look at it and get to it. So again, I'm not streaming live, so this is an equivalent way to help to support this program if you like this sort of thing. And also I encourage you to join my Substack. We had a great roundtable last night, great community. We get together and talk about all sorts of subjects. Be sure to join that if you can. All right. Speaking of communities, there was a idea that I first heard about, I think it was a year ago in my Substack. Someone said, "Hey, Ramsey Paul, I know you're in the Ozarks in Arkansas. Have you heard of the Return to Land movement?" I'm like, "No, I never heard of that." And they described it. Well, they're making a white community. And my initial reaction is, yeah, but you can't really do that with real estate laws. So it sounded kind of sketchy to me. For example, if I have my house, I can't specify, no, I'm just going to sell to someone that's white. I can't do that. That's illegal. But so I kind of dismissed it. But then the whole thing, the Return to Land, it got in the news, and I covered this on this program. And TMZ, for example, they did an interview and they were clutching their pearls. "Oh, how can you have a racially segregated community? Oh, that's against our values." And then just a year prior, they were celebrating Blacks. They were setting up a Black-only community in Georgia, and they were celebrating that as wonderful. And I guess these aren't unique. There's some Jewish people that have these quite frequently, their own communities that are segregated. Of course, we got to celebrate that. And Israel itself is an ethno state, and we got to celebrate and pay for that. But for whites to have anything, "Oh no, that's Nazism, white supremacy, oh, evil." And that's the way they're doing it. It's a real double standard. And of course, our cucky government in Arkansas. What? White people want to live alone? We're not going to tolerate that in Arkansas. So the Attorney General of Arkansas, "Well, this sounds illegal to me. I'm going to look into it." I'm like, uh-oh, there it is. And I was wishing these people the best, but I thought, well, that's it. But then we got a real white pill. And let me just show you right here. And maybe the other shoe would drop. But the whites only Return to the Land community in Arkansas shows, quote, "no evidence of violating the law" in the preliminary review by the Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin. And so that is definitely a good news. And I was curious how this works and how they set this up. It's not really a real estate deal. It's a private club that you pay a $25 membership fee and they vet you. And private clubs you can set up however you want. So it doesn't have anything to do with the Fair Housing Act. And what you can do, you can buy units of land for $6,000 per like 3 acres, which is a really good deal. But it doesn't sell you the real estate directly. Instead, you're part of this LLC that owns the land, and then you buy shares and you are tied to specific plots within the total 100. It's only 160 acres and northeast. I live in the northwest and near Ravenden. I'll have to check it out someday. I've never been there. So what it is, it's sort of like a private community. And then it'd be like, for example, I have my land here I own. And I let's say I built a shed, which I did, and I wanted a friend to move in there, I wanted to charge them. I can specify who I want to come in there because this is a private land and it's not like a traditional real estate deal. So this is really good news. And it's a good news for freedom of association, which I support. Now, there's a lot of arguments. Is this a good thing to do? Or should you live with diversity? Or I'm not, it shouldn't be for me to make that determination. I've always been of the mind, it's almost libertarian, but you live where you want to live. So if you really like diversity, let's say you're a white guy and you want to live in a black neighborhood and you find that enriching, I personally wouldn't find it enriching. But if it's something you like, who am I to try to stop you? Go, God bless you, you do that. And at the same time, if there's white people that want to live away from diversity, that should be their right. I see no problems with it. Why would anyone want to object? Because we're always told how white people are real evil and prey upon others. I don't think it's true, but that's what Hollywood tells us. So if these people are living alone, they're not bothering anyone. They're not harming anyone. It's not like they're Israel where they're engaging in genocide and ethnic cleansing. They bought property legally and they're just dividing it up. Makes sense to me. So I think this is a model that works well. And again, it's just not for white people. Any race can do this. Like I said, that experiment in Georgia, of course, it didn't work because of reasons, but they attempted it and, God bless them. If a bunch of blacks get together and divide up a farm and it's just for black families, I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. So I think this is a good thing. This was a big win for freedom of association. And it could set a precedent. I know the ADL is going to really come hard against this because, again, the ADL's position is their people have a right to have their own communities, but we don't. That's their official position. But if we are able to, we could see this definitely spreading. I could see across America where there's more of these communities because I think a lot of people, they don't want to be enriched. They just prefer to be around their own people, speak the same language, same customs. I don't see anything wrong with that. And again, no one's forcing you to do this. So if you don't want to be part of this, go live in Detroit or Chicago or Dallas and just celebrate the enrichment. I really don't care. I mean that. So I think this is a really good plan. And this is my number one story of the day because this could have long range implications. This is just a small 160 acre thing they're dividing up, but I could see this growing across the country if they're able to get this to work. So I 100% support this. Maybe one day, if they invite me, I'll go see what they're doing, but it sounds really cool so far. So good news on that. All right. The second topic, and this came out today, it was Trump had to be happy. It looks like the U.S. economy is booming. It's exceeded expectations with the GDP increasing by 3%. And it's always kind of strange because whenever the economy does well, the stock market and crypto doesn't do that good because I think crypto market was hoping the economy would be bad because then there would be a rate cut, which helps the stocks and crypto. Everything's forward looking. It's kind of strange. I don't believe these numbers are all fake necessarily, but I think how we measure the economy just by GDP, there's more to it than that. I think our economy has a lot of problems. So yeah, it's really growing. And for a lot of people, it is booming. They're doing really well. But for a lot more people, they're really struggling. And what I've seen in the past 20 years of America that I haven't seen previously is a big divide, like a third world country, where you have the haves and the have-nots. So you have the really wealthy people, rich or upper middle class, trips to Europe, multiple cars. You have a lot of money because let's say you're a rich YouTuber like Quarterine, to have all these cars, or you're an OnlyFans prostitute, and you have millions of dollars. So they're doing well. But then you have a lot of people that have graduated school, let's say in engineering or programming, worked hard, say white guys, and they just can't get a job because of H-1B visas and DEI requirements and AI. So there's a problem here. So just because the GDP is doing well doesn't mean the whole country is doing well. And we're losing sort of the middle class. We've always had rich and poor, don't get me wrong, but we're mostly define America as a big middle class, where that middle class is disappearing, and you're seeing the really rich and then the really poor. I feel like I'm kind of like the last of the middle class. I'm in no ways rich, but at the same time, I don't think I'm in the poor category. So but we're seeing this. I see this on the horizon, and I have a heart for young people. So there needs to be changes. And one of the changes I really advocate for Donald Trump is to eliminate the H-1B visas. We do not need these workers here in the United States. They're taking jobs from America. These people, the Indians are great people. They can do a great job in India. And that's where it needs to be. And all these hotels that are owned by Indians that were given to them because of racial grants, those should be deemed illegal. And those hotels should be taken back and given to Americans. So that's would be a big step. I would like to see that. But Donald Trump, he's got something to crow about. All his tariffs and everything else haven't hurt the official economic numbers. The United States is doing very well, but that means we're probably not going to get a rate cut. All right, the number 3 story is going back to this couple. There was that white couple that was attacked after a jazz festival in Cincinnati. And they were attacked for racial reasons. And the people that were arrested, they were just let go with a slap on the wrist. And it's really crazy because now the police department head, that woman I showed you yesterday, she's saying, oh, it's not the black guy's fault. The restaurants, they were serving too much booze and he just drank so much. And what do you expect? It's not his fault. He was a victim. Like, yeah, okay. I'm sure they would use that excuse. Again, reverse the races. Oh, it's not the redneck's fault for beating up this black couple at a country music festival. They were just drinking too much beer. It wasn't their fault. She's really going with that. And to make it even worse, you have the city councilman. Look at this for anti-white hatred that we're seeing here. Let me show you here. Share the screen. And this is a black member of the Cincinnati City Council posted on social media stating that the white people beaten at the Cincinnati Jazz Festival begged for it. They begged for that beatdown. I'm grateful for the whole story because what it is primarily like a black festival. And I guess people in Cincinnati know if you're white, you're not supposed to be in that part of town because you'll be attacked. So she just looks very tribal. She said they deserved it because they were white and they deserved to be beat. This is just, now you can see why there's groups like Return to the Land that don't want to have to deal with this situation. So pretty outrageous, but this is the situation there. So that was a number 3 story. The Cincinnati Councilwoman actually celebrated the attack on the white tourists that went there. All right, let's see. Number 4 story, and this kind of gets back to India. Let me show you guys here. Trump just put on a tariff on India. Promote. Now, I'm not going to promote this. Both China and India, this is Trump announces a 25% tariff on India plus a penalty for trade with Russia. And as I talked about this yesterday, this is a horrible idea by Trump. I don't mind tariffs, and that could be good. In fact, I think we shouldn't allow outsourcing to India whatsoever. They should be subject to heavy tariffs because we have a lot of kids that graduate college in engineering and computer programming that can't get jobs because of H-1B visas. We need to end that, not just H-1B visas, but the outsourcing to India needs to end right away. And I'll show you another story on that. So that needs to happen. I'm okay with that. But the idea to penalize India for trading with Russia is crazy. That's not our business to tell what other countries should be able to do and who they should be able to trade with. And as I mentioned yesterday, it's almost going to be impossible to do with China because we need so many rare earth minerals from China for our defense industry and other components like microchips. And if we put, let's say, 100% tariff on China because they're buying Russian oil and gas, they can just cut us off, so we won't have the ammunition to give to Ukraine. It's a really stupid policy. It's a policy that Lindsey Graham came up with. He called it bone-crushing sanctions. And again, they're really not tariffs at that point. They're sanctions. A tariff is an economic thing. A sanction is when you're trying to punish a country. So we're really looking at putting on sanctions on India and China because they still do business with Russia. It's a disaster. Russia's winning the war. There's nothing we can do about it. They have more men. The Ukrainians are running out of men, and they're running out of weapons. And the West, we don't have that many weapons. Europe has always been a joke. Recently, they don't have a big army. They have nothing to give. In the United States, we've outsourced a lot of our industry over the past 30 years. Bad decision. Trump's trying to correct it, but this is where we are now. A lot of it's in China. And our defense industry, we don't have a big quantity of weapons. We have a lot of high-tech weapons. And I think always the model was all our wars would be really quick, like with Iraq. We have just super high-tech weapons, and in 3-4 months we win, and that's it. But now we're trying to fight this proxy war against Russia, which we shouldn't be in. It's none of our business, but we are, and it's drained our inventory of weapons, and we're not set up for a long war. So we don't have these weapons anymore to give to Ukraine because we just don't have Ukraine. We're involved, with our best little friends in the Middle East and their genocide and their war with Iran. We got to pay for that. And then we got to worry about China and Taiwan. So we're in a critical situation with our inventory of missiles, Patriot missiles, and weapons in general. And we don't have the factories here in the United States to scale up. So in Ukraine, they're lacking men and they're lacking weapons, and they're losing, and they will lose. There's no way to change it unless we get in the war and it becomes World War III, which I don't think we want to do. So Trump should have washed his hands right off the bat, but he got suckered in by the neocons on this. Bad decision, but this is where we are by Trump. So Trump hits India with tariffs, partly due, not because of the H-1B visa stuff, but because they are trading with Russia. All right, here's the future of the craziness of outsourcing. And I encourage Trump, though, put huge tariffs on India for this. Take a look at this. You're in Miami. You're checking into the hotel. You expect to go to the hotel clerk. Usually traditionally, it's a pretty lady, pretty American girl, blonde girl or something. And nope, not anymore. Take a look at this. It's your check-in. So you get in and you don't have a real American girl. It's typically a girl that you deal with as polite. And, hey, welcome, Mr. Ramsey. Here's your keys. What else can I get you? No, we get this guy.
Okay.
Let me get that. Yeah. Here we go.
One room key or 2 room keys?
2, just in case I lose one.
Yes, I will just make this for you. Just help me with your signature, where it says guest signature. Let me just process your room registration form.
Please wait while we process your registration form.
Isn't this crazy? So this guy's in India, and so when you go to check in, you have to deal with this guy and his accent.
Please note that we have a strict policy of no smoking, no pets, and no visitors allowed in any of our guest rooms. Signature must match the one on your ID. Using your finger, please sign where it says guest signature when you see the form on the screen.
All right, sir. I will just process your room receipt, which contains all the property.
Isn't that crazy? And that's crazy. We need to end that. There needs to be massive tariffs to stop that from happening. Again, it's taking American jobs. That is not a good thing. All right. So let me just recap the top stories of today. The number one story was the white pill, at least tentatively. I mean, they may backtrack on this, but the Attorney General of Arkansas said the return to land movement is freedom of association. It's totally legal. So very good news on that for freedom of association and freedom in general. Number two, the U.S. economy, big booming, 3% growth. And Trump's got to be happy about that. The number 3 news story was the Cincinnati Councilwoman. She's Black. She celebrated the attack of that white couple that were tourists at the jazz festival by the mob. And she was excited about that, says they deserve that because they're white. What are they doing down there? And number 4 is Trump hits India with big tariffs because they are still buying oil from Russia. And then number 5 is just a peek to the future. Instead of having hotel clerks, you're going to have to deal with some Indian on some virtual hookup here because we can pay them less. Yeah, that needs to end. But those are the top 5 stories. And again, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, go ahead and look at this power chat. Just send me a power chat. I'll get it tomorrow, or give a super sticker. I'd appreciate that. Thanks a lot, guys. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.